charging the van. So I'm just at a charge point in a petrol station. These electric vehicles are like they're like basically a mini computer. Like you're driving around a computer, and obviously we're tracked because it's a fleet, which is the fleet is the company. It's managed by an external company. The fleet that the lease, the company leases. So we're tracked anyway. So everything we do in terms of like where we go, when, you know, how fast we go, if we're sticking to the speed limits in the different places, it's all tracked. But also with the electric thing, there's only so far in terms of miles you can go until you have to recharge. So it's like, I think in the States there was something in America where there was one time there was no charging stations available, so the people couldn't charge their cars. I think it's all like this kind of like agenda control to have us have to charge our cars and be tracked everywhere we go. And it's not autonomous. It's like you're not in control of your own, like just get in your car and just like hit the road and drive far, like to somewhere else. You have to drive within a like a parameter or something, if that makes sense. You can't go that far. And every time you charge it, you know, it's, you know, yeah, it sort of sends a signal. Yeah, it's all kind of their thing. But why I'm speaking about that, because that's just like these narcopaths. Like even today, I was doing some work on the site, and that supervisor who, you know, keeps this narcissist supervisor came, and we were working together. And the one that I was saying yesterday was not that bad. He came today, he asked me, oh, how was it working with that guy? So they obviously have their conversations. So I just said to that guy, it was fine. But if I had moaned or complained, he would then go back to that guy and talk about me to that guy. So I'm watching what I'd say to supervisors, because they kind of like act like they're your friend, but behind the scenes they'd be like discussing you. So you have to really watch out for that, you know. But today was actually okay. As I was doing some work, I actually was working on someone else's work and found that issue that I had with mine was on this particular place as well. So that just proves the point that they were being extra picky with my work. But if they're being extra picky with my work and I improve from that and I do it the way of a certain standard, so it just helps me improve. So to me, it's actually a win-win. But they were using it in a way of trying to make me feel like I didn't know what I was doing, or I wasn't good enough, I wasn't hitting the same quality that everybody else is doing. But I saw some that were like the one that I did, if not worse, and I haven't even been doing it for that long repetitively. So that was positive. Yeah, today there was just lots of small little things they would do or say, which I would just, you know, would make me just think, that sort of comment, narcissistic comments here or there. So it was just a case of just trying to stay out of harm's way in terms of like supply. Even just now, we had to go and do pick up some equipment for tomorrow, and I hadn't charged my van, so I didn't know if my van would have enough charge, which I didn't actually have enough charge to come to our headquarters and then get me back to where I need to near where I live. So it got me here. So now I'm charging, but I was saying to them, look, I don't have enough charge to go back and forward, so I could just go home and charge. And they were like, yeah, that's fine, you can go home and charge. But I knew that if I had left there and went home to charge, that when they would tell the supervisor, he would have called me and told me off. So I avoided giving him supply. He's just literally looking for supply, this guy. Like, I just saw him now, and we were getting our diaries for next year, and the guy that was giving out the diaries works in the warehouse, and I was asking, we had to sign them off, and he was like, when I came to get my diary, he gave me this strange look, like, why have you got a diary sort of look? And I goes, what's that look? And that supervisor was stood there. He looked at me like, who? And I'm like, him. And then he just like relaxed himself. So he's just looking for any little thing just to like shout. He's done it to me a couple times, but now it's just about having the boundaries. So to just say to him, look, if he shouts at me again, I'm going to say to him, look, this is not acceptable. I won't have you talking to me like that in front of people, even not in front of people. Just I'm not putting up with it. You know, I can report you to HR or report you to management. How I'm not going to stand for it. But this is yeah, this is like what he does, and also like I said yesterday, he was correcting someone else, and today every time when people were talking, he would come and give them something to do. He came on site. He wasn't supposed to be on this site. He would come and like, you know, start checking everyone's doing their job correctly, staring at everyone. He was asking me about what I was doing today actually, and what I was doing today, I was only shown the configuration and the wiring of it yesterday, so I only had one day to practice. And he asked me, oh, what's the function of each one? And I told him exactly each one, the perfect. That he was like, oh, okay, like he just didn't, like I literally gave him nothing to say. So yeah, that's basically what we have to do in terms of like, we have to be on our guard, we have to not react, we have to know our stuff, but also we don't have to play the game. Like, that's what I'm thinking to myself today. Like when I came out, when I left the place now, I was just like, some of this stuff is like, it's just long, like it's not worth it. You know, like you'll be stood somewhere and they'll be talking, and as soon as you come, they move, or one of them leaves and you're stood there, and it'll be just you and one person, and then that person will turn around and leave. It's like all these narcs and narcopaths, and they actually don't have anything interesting to say anyway, like they're boring. But there's times when we might all be having coffee or tea when you kind of have to be around them. Like if you go and sit by yourself all the time, it will stand up. Sometimes I do, like today I went and had my sandwich, everybody went away and had their own lunch, but sometimes I do that anyway. I go and sit in my van, have my lunch, have my nice tea and my homemade home packed sandwiches, or breakfast, and it's fine. But other times, even though if you can help it, you just go and stand there, but you don't have to take too much part in the narcissism and all the like kind of like envious or like backbiting that you hear all this like backbiting. You know, they'll be talking about, you know, who was speeding or who did this or who did that, or you can just stand there. And I did that today. And there was a time when I was up the ladder and one of the guys made a joke about another guy that's always smoking, and I laughed. And he said to me, who gave you permission to laugh? And I go to him, we talk about, I laugh if I want. And I just told him, where are we? And I told him the place we were. And I goes, yeah, that's right, that's where we are. We're not like in the middle of nowhere, like where I work for you. Nah, we're like near my hometown. And he just like, be quiet. So sometimes you can give it back to these people, but the majority of the time, yeah, he's all right, that one actually. He's not too bad. The majority of the time, it's not worth kind of going there with them. It's not worth getting into these like pissing up the wall contests or going back and forth of narcs, just giving them what they want. Stay out of it, you know, stay calm. But so far, I've been kind of dealing with them quite well. I've been keeping fit, I've been trying to meditate, and I've been doing more. I haven't been in nature lately because it's getting dark because it's winter, but I've been looking after myself, eating good food, getting rest in the evening. So I've been more sort of calm. I've been more concentrated. That's one, I keep saying that in the videos. You have to really like concentrate when you deal with narcopaths, like to not give them supply, and also for yourself to not react to them, and to also to hold your boundaries, because it's easy to like fawn. Like they'll be like, today I did actually like, there was one thing that he did, one of the guys, was that he wanted something from my van, and I kind of don't like people going in my van. Like it's got like my personal things in there, like in the back, like some of like my bag and like other few things, and you don't want people just like rummaging around your van. He's like, oh, can I just check something? Oh, I forgot to pick this equipment up. Can I go and check in your van? And I was like, up the ladder, so I was like, oh, go on then. But the kind of time that he asked me, this guy was like, he wanted to look in there. Like, he wanted to see if I had taken some bits and bobs, because that's what they are doing. So if they're doing it, it's all right. But if you do it, it's not all right. So he wanted to go and look in my van. And he's the one that takes pictures and sends it to the supervisor, the snitch one. So I was like, I don't want people in my van, but I really don't want him particularly in my van. But he, yeah, I was up the ladder, so I gave it to him on that occasion. But he wasn't there for long, so it was okay. And just now, I was working with him, helping him to move some of the equipment to get ready for tomorrow. We worked together, and that was fine. But yeah, like I keep saying, they're shapeshifters. Like with these narcopaths, it's like they'll be okay with you. Like, say if it's just you and them, sometimes they can just pretend. They can just like pretend to be nice, talking to you, getting on with you, being cool. But literally, as soon as your back's turned, they're just like straight to the management, straight to supervisors, talking about you, moaning, complaining. Yeah, if you're late, if your work is not to the standard, and the work is not to the standard, it's all by design. It's not like you all had the same training and you've all had the same time on site. It would be like they would put you in the post room while everybody else would be in the factory. And in the factory, you get to learn how to use all the tools and how to like use the equipment and the machinery. And then one day, after like 3 weeks of you just being in the post room, putting the post in the like, I'm just as an example, into the cubicles, into the post little boxes, they'll put you in the factory. And because you haven't been in the factory, you'll be so slow. You will be like, oh, you don't remember how to do things. Your one would be like of a lesser quality of the people that do it every day. And then they'll be like, you're so slow. I wonder why that is. Why you don't know how to use equipment? Haven't you been training? You've been there for 6 months. Even though that you've been there for 6 months, they will put you in the post room for 4 months. You will train for 1 month. They'll put you in the post room for 4 months. And then out of nowhere, they'll say, oh, we haven't got enough people. We need to throw you in. Yeah, or like say you played football, like you played for a football team, and you know they bought you from one football team, they brought you in, and you were supposed to play for the first team, and then for some reason the manager is a narc, or he clashes with you, or you disagree with something that he says, so he puts you in with the like youth team or reserves. So you go every week playing with the reserve team, and then 1 week someone gets injured, you've got to come into the first team, and the first team is like a higher standard. And when you come into the higher standard, you're like not as fast, not as strong, not as technically like aware as everybody else, and you just look like you stand out to be like the one that's not performing. And then the manager's like, I don't understand, why can't you perform? But he's actually engineered it for you to be below or behind everybody. That's exactly what happens. So when in those scenarios, you have to kind of just like keep working hard and keep going. Like today, I was doing something different, and I just kept going, you know, memorizing. There was times I had to look up my phone to remember the order and which cables go where. I kept doing it, repeat. Repetition is the mother of skill. That's what Tony Robbins used to say. And I know if I'm on site again and I have that particular job to do, I will know how to do that job, because I was spending time doing it over and over. But then what would happen is that on the next job, they might put me on another side. So I now have to catch up with that side, which is fine, because you're stacking all the different techniques, stacking all the different ways of doing work, stacking all the different jobs. But the thing about that is that this should have been done months before, but they had just been keeping me in the depot, or keeping me in the headquarters doing other things, doing like administrative things, or doing like building, you know, just doing things that are like not the actual main thing. And even today, when I was saying in a past video about they do stuff but they don't know why they do stuff, they were talking about something that we got to do, where we have to do this testing. So you got to do this testing to make sure that the installation is up to a standard. So you have to get the equipment signed off it's called initial verification. So you do a site, you install it, and then it has to pass certain tests to say that it's safe, to say it's up to the customer's standard, to say it's up to the regulation, like electrical regulations. And I was overhearing them talk about some of the tests, and it was just like they did not know anything. Like they didn't remember the formulas and didn't understand what the formulas meant. And I was just there listening. And then after, it got so bad that I actually had to tell them what meant what on the form, and how to calculate it, and what the bits meant. But I kept saying to them, oh, you don't need to understand it. But actually they do need to understand it. But in terms of them, because they don't have that mindset, they have to just know how to test it, but they don't have to know the intricate details of what's going on. I know it's another video, it's not to do with what we're talking about here, but we have something called earth-fault loop impedance in the electrical world, and in our world we call it ELI. And we have to basically try to work out the time that the electrical circuit will trip, and it has to trip below a certain amount of time to pass to be, say, like, oh, if there's a fault condition, if something goes wrong and someone can get electric shock, the circuit will shut itself down in a certain time. I think it's 0.4, I can't remember the actual figure. And there's a way of working it out. ZS equals R1 plus R2 plus ZE. And they just didn't know how to work out the certain bits, or what certain bits meant, and why there was the earth. And I was just explaining it to them, and they just did not have any clue. And the two guys there have been signed off on the site, and I haven't been signed off, by the way. And I had way more knowledge, way more expertise, way more understanding of what was going on, so I was able to help them. So this is another thing. It's like they want you to feel like you're like second best, you don't know, when actually you know more than them. So it's like constant gaslighting. So you have to hold on to your reality with these people. If you enjoyed certain things like studying and learning, and what's that book, Robert Greene, don't outshine the master. I don't agree with that. Sometimes you have to outshine the master if the master don't know what he's doing. You have to like read your books, know your stuff, and in the end it works out for you, man. The supervisor, another guy, not the ones I've been talking about, one of the installer who was the head on the lead installer, I better call him that, he was listening to what I was saying, and he was learning from me. He was agreeing. He was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I forgot my notepads. I don't have my notes, so I can't do it. And I was just like, this is something that you need to know, like, off head. And if you're doing this job, but if you have people that do know on site, like myself or someone else who claims to be more senior, that shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this again today, because I know there's a lot of empaths and people that are like us at work, and they're getting like this treatment, this kind of like made to feel less than, put down. Your work has been checked harder than everybody else and stuff. And I just wanted to just understand, don't believe the hype, don't believe what they say, just keep going and slowly start looking for a side hustle, slowly start figuring something else to do. Like, don't be like, I'm thinking of an escape route, just like to do other things, or to think what I'm gonna do. But I'd like to be signed off. I'd like to get certain tickets, certain cards, certain qualifications, and that would put me in a better position, like working for someone else, or to get promoted, or whatever it is. I like to have those things. So yeah, we'll just have to see. So yeah, that was mainly the video, the message today. Also, I watched back the other video I was driving, so the messages are in there, but because I'm driving, I'm sort of multitasking, so it's a bit slower paced, so there's gaps and there's parts where I'm not saying anything. But I'm gonna leave those videos up there for now, and if anybody wants me to remake those videos, or they've got an issue, they can just write in the comments and I'll think about doing them or not. But yeah, write in the comments what you think about the videos. The messages are there. I watched them back, those driving videos. The messages are in there. They're a bit spaced out, they're in there, so they can still be helpful. So I'll leave them up for now, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.